Hi there. Welcome to Becoming the Self-Led Woman podcast. My name is Monica, and this is a weekly podcast for modern women in which we will explore different topics such as self-leadership, personal growth, financial empowerment, feminine wisdom, all sorts of things that help us understand how can we navigate nowadays as a modern woman. You can think of it as a coffee chat that you can have with an older sister. So here I am as your older sister that I am sharing honest, supportive, practical insights that can help you create the life that feels more aligned, more empowered, and really more heart-led and authentic. This week, let's talk about self-leadership because aside of emotional mastery, this is one of the most important life skills a person can have. So, if you ask me, Monica, if you were to be gone tomorrow, is there anything that you actually regret? And I can tell you that there is nothing that I really regret. Well, aside of not being able to see my child growing up and getting married and having his own family, etc., because I would be a little bit sad if I couldn't witness that. I don't really have anything that I regret, simply because I always followed my inner compass on how to live my life, really on my own terms. So there is not really anything that I regret to have done or not done. And even if I were to ask other people for their insights, opinions, I would never really follow any advice or insight if it doesn't really resonate with me. So, having a strong sense of leadership within myself really helps me to live the life that I want in the way that I want to experience. And I actually learned this from my mother. I believe that my mother is a very strong woman. And she has this rule that whatever happens to you in your life, you are the one fully responsible for how you respond to it. And at first, especially when I was younger, I didn't really appreciate this because I thought that, wow, why is she so cold and harsh? Like, can she see that the situation that I shared with her, I don't really have control over it? I couldn't control other people, and I tried my best, and etc. However, the older that I get, the more I actually appreciate this lesson because it really helped me develop a strong sense of leadership within myself. And it really helps me shift the focus. So instead of thinking about, oh, this person shouldn't have done this, oh, this situation happened like that, and it's so unfair, it actually helps me to shift my focus on what I can do from now on to change the situation and how I might have contributed to a situation to happen so that I can avoid it the next time. So, of course, that we also need to be kind to ourselves because we have to understand that whenever we do something, how we respond to a situation, we often do so in the way that we knew best, given the circumstances and what we knew at that moment. However, when we can shift our focus on what we can change, which is what we do, how we respond to a situation or a person, can be really empowering. Learning about this also helped me go through one of my major career lessons, really, at the beginning of my IT career. Because I learned that whenever there is a situation that I am not happy with, expecting or waiting for the situation or other people to change can actually be quite costly and really not empowering at all. So, a little bit of story time. Years ago, when I was in my first job as a programmer, I was in this project in which the team environment was not really going well, and many people are actually not happy with how things were managed, with how things were going. But everyone, including myself, were just, oh, okay, maybe things will get better if I just wait. Maybe people will magically change the way they are managing us. But of course, nothing really changed, just like in many of this kind of situations. So one day, as I was waiting for more tasks to be given to me, I was just distracting myself, visiting a website that was not related to our project. And our manager actually saw that. Then he actually called me to a private room and he started to be like, Monica, all the tasks that you have been doing, they were wrong. Everything that you were doing was not good. And at first, I was really surprised because that hasn't been my experience at all. So, of course, I tried to argue with him. But then, after, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, I actually gave up because I just didn't have the capacity and energy to continue arguing with him. And then he gave me the ultimatum of, Monica, you have 1 month to change the way you are doing your job. And I was like, okay, sure. And then I got out of the room. So I was just continuing doing my things. Although I did look back at my tasks to see the history of what I did. So back then I had almost 100 tasks that I accomplished in that project. And I saw that only one task was not really passing the test from our testers. And I was actually really upset about it. At the same time, wondering, like, how could he make that conclusion? It's just so wrong. But then days went by, and I actually began to allow myself to have other job interviews since that day. And after 1 month, he talked with me again and said, Monica, it has been amazing. Your work has improved a lot. Congratulations on improving your work. And deep down, I was very confused because I didn't really improve anything. I was just continuing to do what I've been doing in the project. But then, shortly after, I've got new job offers, and soon enough, I changed my job and got a better pay. And soon enough, my colleagues from the team also followed me. One by one, most of them got out of the project and into a new job. I was just the first one to get out of the job. Everyone else followed. So this lesson, it taught me that when a situation is not really good for me, simply staying in it and hoping that things will change will not often help at all. And even if we try to voice our concerns and what we are not okay with, things might not really change. Because it is really human nature, whether we are talking about a work relationship or a romantic relationship or our loved ones, friendships, etc. It's often the human nature that people don't really change unless they feel this urge to. So, if they are already happy with the situation, then they really don't feel compelled to change. So, for example, it's very frequent that many people they are unhappy with their jobs. But because for the employers, for the managers, things are actually working for them, they might not really feel compelled to change things. And usually many managers, they also have a lot on their plates. So if taking care of the team's happiness is not really one of their values, they usually don't feel this urge to change things around. So at the end of the day, really, we are the ones who care about our lives and our circumstances the most. And that is why we need to always ask ourselves, what do we really value? What do we really need and desire? And what do we really want to do about our situation? And if someone is giving you their opinion about your actions, your decisions, your life, you yourself have to think and really feel, does this really resonate? Does this really work for me? Because if it doesn't, then there is really no point in following other people's insights or advices, because you, at the end of the day, are the one who is going to walk your life and experience the consequences of your decisions. And even if someone is well intended, it's important to understand that at the end of the day, they haven't experienced how you have felt, your life circumstances, your past experiences. So they might not really understand where you come from, what are your real values. They are biased with their own values, their own experiences, their own life baggage. And I can tell you, even if the other person is a mentor, even if the other person is a therapist, even if the other person is the wisest person on earth, always take it with a grain of salt, because they are also just humans at the end of the day. And we humans are flawed, we are not perfect. So the advices that we might give, the insights, the opinions, this might not really be perfect. So this week, I'd like you to try out an exercise. So, I'd like to invite you to reflect on how strong is your inner compass? How much do you really trust your self leadership? Do you often ask for people's opinions, insights? And what do you usually do with these opinions and insights? And how do you feel about these insights? And if you feel that, okay, maybe you listen to a lot of insights, which can be helpful depending on the insights, but do you usually feel that there is a resonance with the insights given to you, with the opinions given to you? And also, who do you usually ask for insights, guidance, opinions? And if you have sometimes unsolicited advice, how do you usually feel about it and what do you do about it? I hope that this episode has been insightful, and remember, take what resonates and leave what doesn't, because at the end of the day, you are the CEO of your own life. And while we can have the support from other people's insights, opinions, at the end of the day, it is your values and your inner guidance that matters the most.